Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our final part of our Ante-Post series. This is the last time Jack and I will be putting up selections for the Cheltenham Festival Ante-Post. We will have a review show of our Ante-Post selections. That will come at some point at the start of March. As always, we are writers for the Racing Ahead magazine. They have actually given us a nice offer for you guys for this month. So if you go and check the link out down below, if you click on the link, there should be an option on there for a £2.99 magazine. If you type into the promo box free issue, that'll be free space issue, you'll get a free copy of this month's edition. I'll leave the instructions down in the description, but certainly worth going to give that a read, especially as a free digital issue for you guys. And we've got a great article in there with regards to young people getting into racing. And our other big announcement, you've probably seen it on Twitter, but it is our Cheltenham Festival Preview Night. This will be at Pagham Cricket Club on the 4th of March, 7 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. We'll be joined by jockey and pundit Matty Batchelor and apprentice to the Gary Moore stable, Niall Houlihan. There'll be a bar on the night, charity raffle. You get a free copy of the Racing Ahead magazine. That'll be the Cheltenham edition you'll get. And there'll be plenty of giveaways courtesy of hacked up horse racing gifts. I'm sure a lot of you have seen them on Twitter. The night is £10. You can get your tickets by giving myself an email. You'll see the email on screen now. Not many tickets remaining, but certainly worth getting in touch if you do live local to the area. It's going to be a really fun evening, and we'll be supporting a charity on the evening, which will be K9 Partners. So looking forward to doing that. And the night will be sponsored proudly by Racing Ahead and Bennett and Game Recruitment. So we are looking forward to that, Jack. It's our last ever Ante-Post episode before we then get into the big stuff and do our official preview. I bet you're looking forward to actually getting 5 weeks' time we're waiting for now, but getting there to the festival. I bet you're looking forward to the preview night as well.
Yeah, 100%. We're definitely getting there, aren't we? Slowly but surely, it is coming around after the Dublin Racing Festival. Of course, we've got a lot more clues to look through. A lot of big handicaps with a few winners probably snuck in there as well. So yeah, I can't wait for it. Looking forward to this preview and of course our main preview at Pagham.
Yeah, and give us two horses from the Dublin Racing Festival that you were really taken by. I think one of them's fairly obvious, but give us two.
Ooh. If I'm being honest, I'm probably going to give two that didn't win. So I'll give you Manella Crooner and Echoes in Rain were the two that I was impressed with.
Okay, I mean they're short priced at the moment, but I think Facile Vega, we can all agree, was absolutely electric on the day. And I thought the Sir Gerhard, despite jumping like a fridge freezer out in front of some of the hurdles, was put up a decent time. It looks like an absolute tank when running on the flat. And I just think that potentially, if the horse is set in behind other horses, could jump a little bit better. I'm not sure the front running tactics were ideal, but he had the engine to finish it out. But we shall wait and see. Let's just go over some of our selections from some of the previous episodes. Just a few highlights that we've got. Jack, you've got Galloping de Champs, 25 to 1 into 6 to 4 for the Festival Novice Chase. That was impressive at the weekend. Nube Negra, that horse you put up at 25 to 1, now 11 to 1 for the Champion Chase. And Aplutard, you put up at 8 to 1, 7 to 2 for the Gold Cup. Myself, I put up Sir Gerhard 10 to 1 for the Ballymore. Be interesting to see if they go down that route, but he's currently 9 to 2. And Impulsive One was an impressive weekend win. I do hope that they do go down the Boodles handicap route. I put this horse up 40 to 1 for the Boodles, now currently sitting at 16 to 1. So a couple of decent selections so far that we've put up. But let's get into this week's episode and this month's episode. And I've got 3 horses, Jack's got 2. And the first one I'm actually going to put up in the Ballymore. I know I've got Sir Gerhard in here, but I do think potentially the Supreme might be the top of their listing. I think that could be the preferred option. We'll just have to wait and see. But a horse that I have been a fair big fan of. There's lots to talk about this horse, and it's Journey with Me for the Ballymore. Currently sitting there at 5 to 1. Now, he won the same bumper as Bob Ollinger did in his sort of season coming towards winning the Ballymore. I'm not sure that this horse is as good as Bob Ollinger. I think this horse is actually going to make into a really decent 3-mile chaser potentially down the line. I think potentially the Festival Novice Chase next season will be the aim for this horse. Now, we did see the horse skip this weekend, was going to go for I think it was the 2-mile 6 novice race that, as Jack mentioned, Manella Crooner was second in that race. But, he was going to go down that route. Instead, they've decided to divert from there and go to the 2-mile free race at Nace this weekend. And that pretty much just tells you that the Ballymore is going to be the option for this horse. I think this horse does stay, but I think the horse also has a lot of power. Now, the race at Christmas, he beat Manella Crooner. Now, Manella Crooner since come out and won impressively and then was second I think was actually desperately unlucky at the weekend. I think if the mistake didn't happen at the second last, I think this horse would have been a lot closer. Got caught right on his heels in that race after jumping the second last. And obviously Kilcrut, who has been a bit disappointing, but we did see the horse return to a little bit of form, albeit in probably not the best company last time out. And Journey of Me was running at a time for the Henry de Bromhead stable where the horses were running a little bit flat. I think they're still not running to 100% form at the moment. It's been well talked about that Henry's horses aren't running sort of right up to their top level, but I do think the stable will suddenly hit form, and it's going to be just around Cheltenham time. And I think Journey of Me, I know it's a short price, but we're getting to that time of the year now where you're going to see horses well found in the market. So Journey of Me 5-1 for the Ballymore for myself as my first selection. Jack, what about yourself?
My first selection, we've actually mentioned it already there. It's going to be Minella Crooner for the Albert Bartlett at 7-1. I think 7-1 is still a very, very fair price. I did like Ginto at kind of fancy prices, but I'd be very tentative that he does go to the Ballymore. Personally, I hope they actually keep him at 3 miles. But I think Minella Crooner, if you look down the list Ante-Post wise or non-runner no bet wise even, I think he's probably one of the only few that are guaranteed to go there. So I'd probably actually go Ante-Post rather than non-runner no bet. I know he's only a point shorter non-runner no bet. I think he's pretty much nailed on to go there. And I've just been really impressed with him. He looks like he's on a serious upwards curve. I mean, of course, he finished second to Journey with Me, as Sam said, with Kilcrit in behind. That looked like a good piece of form. He didn't jump a twig that day, but he absolutely flew home. And then he won over 3 miles on heavy ground at Punchestown. He jumped a lot better. I think the ground, he'll probably want a little bit of give in the ground. I think his jumping's a lot better when he does get that soft ground. And of course, last time out in the Nathaniel Lacy novice hurdle, I'm always a sucker for one coming from that. Last year, it was Gail de Manil, in fact, the winner, who of course didn't vindicate what I thought in the Ballymore, and Bob Olinger was way too good. But hopefully this year, Minella Crooner, I mean, again, that mistake at the second last, I don't think he was going to win it, if I'm being honest. I think Minella Crooner was probably going to take all the beating, and I don't think he probably would have got there. But stepping back up to 3 miles at Cheltenham, I think it's just going to be tailor-made for him. And hopefully, if there is a relatively testing conditions, so it'll probably be good to soft as it usually is. But I think on the Friday, if it does get a little bit testing, I think Minella Crooner 7-1 looks a very fair price, and what does look a relatively muddled Albert Bartlett market.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's always a competitive race, usually, the Albert Bartlett. And Minella Crooner, I think that race from Christmas with Journey and Me could throw up a few winners. And it'd be interesting to see what they do with Kilcrut after his recent win, because you've got to remember that this horse was second to Sir Gerhard in the bumper at Cheltenham last season. So, he could still have the ability there. We'd like to hope so, because he did look an absolute star in the making. So we'll wait and see with regards to that. So Minella Crooner for the Albert Bartlett for Jack. Now, my next bet comes in the Turner's Novice Chase. This is going to be an interesting one to discuss, because there have been many debates about both Bob Olinger and Galopin de Champs both going here. Now, looking today, I was actually informed by one of our followers that you can actually have a look at the markets on the exchanges for where Galopin de Champs is going to go. And if you were to price it up through fractions, it would be 6-4 to go to the Festival Novice Chase and 11-4 to go to the Turners. Obviously, that's going to be if the horse runs. So you're probably thinking there, Jack, you'll make profit either way, but the horse has to actually run. So
yeah.
Don't worry about that. Otherwise, everyone's just watching this going, this is just so profitable, I'm just going to lump on the vote. But no, don't do that, because the horse may not run. You never know. But the horse that I actually fancy in this race is L'Homme Pressé. The horse is currently 5-1 for the race. It was so great to see Charlie Deutsch gets first Grade 1 winner at the weekend in the Scilly Isles. I just think that Charlie's such a great lad. Venetia, the horses are in fine form. They had a lovely winner on Monday at Fontboy as well. They just keep running in decent style, these horses, and have been all season. And I just think that potentially now, after Venetia said that this is probably going to be the option, 2 mile 4 is going to be well suited. The horse jumps like an absolute stag, right? And what we've got to remember is in something like the Festival Novice Chase, I feel like you can get away with a couple of mistakes in that race. You don't necessarily have to be the best jumper in the race to win that. But I think that in the Turners, there's a fair bit of pace on, and I think jumping can be crucial. And yes, Bob Olinger is certainly the horse to beat. Do not get me wrong. I think that the horse is absolutely electric, but he is prone to a couple of, maybe not errors, but a few jumps that you might question on the odd occasion. If L'Homme Pressé can get around that course and jump like he has been, he will take lengths out of the horse at certain fences. And I just think that Bob Olinger's got to make up that ground on the flat, which he's perfectly capable of doing. But I just think that potentially if he does make a couple of mistakes, he could get called out by this horse. I think he's a really real big star of the future, and potentially a Gold Cup type in a season or a couple of seasons time. But if you offered me right now with regards to this race, if you offered me 2-1 without Bob Olinger in this race, I would rather take that than the 6-5 available about Bob Olinger to win it. I really would. I think this horse is I think he's probably certain to be there, and I just think it's going to be a small field on the day as well. I don't think it's going to be a massive field. And look, we saw what happened with the favourite last year in this race, Envoy Len, who unfortunately tumbled down and again jumping critical. But I just think that L'Homme Pressé, he could be the one in here that could potentially nick one for the British. It would be a bit of a surprise winner, but I have been a massive fan of him. Jack, your second selection.
Yeah, I'll go on to my second selection in a second. I mean, the L'Homme Pressé argument, I think it's fascinating because he's clearly the better jumper, isn't he? I mean, I think on the day what's going to happen is I think he'll go odds on in play. He'll be travelling, jumping really nicely. Mm-hmm. Will probably hit a few, go through a couple, be off the bridle first, swinging around the bend. I think L'Homme Pressé is probably going to be the one travelling. I reckon he'll go odds on in play, but I think it will just come down to the engine. And I think Bob Olinger obviously has the edge there. Will he stay on his feet is probably the only question you need to ask yourself, because I think that's probably the only thing that's going to get him beaten. And my second pick, it is going to be a gamble. Again, we've mentioned him. It's Sir Gerhard for the Supreme. And he's about 4-1 at the moment. I know he's 9-2 in the place, but he's about 4-1 across the board. So Sir Gerhard for the Supreme is going to be my second selection. Of course, there is the Ballymore option, which he may go for. And I know he doesn't quite have the turn of foot of Dysart Dynamo. I don't think he does. And I think his jumping needs to be brushed up. But the way Willie Mullins talked about him after the Ireland Novice Hurdle was that he was almost disappointed with the fact that he absolutely struck home by 5-6 lengths in the Grade 1. And he was annoyed that he didn't jump very well. And he thought he could be a lot better than that. So I think Willie Mullins really does think the highest of Sir Gerhard. I thought in his debut at Leopardstown, he jumped fantastically. He made all. I'd probably agree, though. I'm not too sure if they're going to try and make all with him. The only doubt for me is, of course, Willie Mullins can have a triple-pronged attack there with Dysart Dynamo, Kilcrit, who I think is going to be aimed at the Supreme, and of course Sir Gerhard. But I do think out of the top of the market, the top 4, if you take the Henderson big boys against the Willie Mullins big boys, I still think Sir Gerhard is the one that's overlooked. He's double the price of Dysart Dynamo. If he does go, I think he's got a cracking chance. His jumping definitely can be brushed up on, it's fair to say, but he's got a decent engine and he'll definitely get up that hill as we saw last year.
Yeah, he's very similar, in my opinion, to Bob Olinger in the fact that, you get these few if he jumps, but you do get a right old engine with Sir Gerhard. And like I said, look, I've fancied this horse for the Ballymore right at the start of the season, but I think wherever this horse goes, I think he's got a huge chance. I think he's a leading player in those races. I just want to go back to what you said earlier, Jack, about L'Homme Pressé. Is one thing you said about the horse going in play. All I wanted to mention is, do you think we haven't seen what's under the bonnet fully with L'Homme Pressé? Because in the last 3 wins, we've seen this horse on the bridle tanking and doing it as easy as you like. I mean, will it come down to the fact of what's under that bonnet when Charlie's travelling like that?
Yeah, I think so. But even with a decent engine under that bonnet, I think you've got to have a ridiculous engine to be able to battle with Bob Olinger. We saw it last year in the Ballymore. We see it time and time again over fences as well. I think it's just going to be very hard for anything to be able to compete with him. I wouldn't be surprised if L'Homme Pressé doesn't find all that much when he's under pressure, just because he's not really too used to it. And of course, when you're up against Bob Olinger, it's a tough ask.
It really is. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting race, potentially, that one. Even if, especially if Galopin de Champs goes there, I still don't think that'll be happening, but we'll have to wait and see. Right, I'm the one with 3 selections this week, and my final selection comes in the Triumph Hurdle. And after, yes, ladies and gentlemen, after Goshen's huge success this weekend, it was magnificent. I love seeing this. It is time. This is the one that everyone has been waiting for. We've all been waiting for me to put up this horse. Jack, my selection each way for the Triumph Hurdle is
Porticello.
It is indeed. You could not have got it any better. Right, this is a really interesting one. And yes, it's very debatable, because you look at the top of this market and we've got Vauban, Pied Piper, Phil Dore. We've got some really top class horses. Go on, you say what you want to say first. Go on.
You've actually left me speechless. For once in my life, you and your love for Gary Moore, I love him to bits, and I know he knows that Porticello is his best juvenile. But goodness me, Sam, look at that Triumph market. Try and fill a place there, please.
Yeah, no, and I've got to make my case for him, but it's been well discussed that this race is made for a horse who stays and a horse who's going to be staying down the line. And we go back to this horse's run at Chepstow, close to New Year and Christmas, sorry. That was a really, really decent performance. And he pulled away from the field. I think this horse does want a little bit of give in the ground for sure. We'll have to wait and see what it's like on that Friday. You know, we might get that spring ground, which might not be ideal. I just think that he's definitely the best of the British. There's no doubt about it. On sort of, you know, time form ratings, he certainly is the best of the British. And I just think that potentially he has the ability to just stay on into a place. I'm not saying this horse is going to win, but I think 16-1 about him might be far too big in this market, because I'm not sure we'll see both Fildor and Pied Piper in this race. I think they will be separated. It's been well discussed that potentially they're going to be separated. I don't think we'll see one of them in the Boodles. I really don't. I mean, well, someone will be have to running off top weight, and there'd have to be some performance to win a Boodles with one of them. I'll tell you that now. So I don't think that'll be happening. But look, the horse that finished second since came out and won, it was a very weak race. That was the Nichols horse. And then the third has actually finished third behind Pied Piper at Cheltenham, albeit that Pied Piper did it very easy. They were similar distances. Look, this is where I start my campaign. A T-shirt will be delivered. The Party for Porticello T-shirt is certainly going to be happening. And he is going to be my final selection of the Ante-Post series. That is some way to end it,
Wow.
Jack. I can't wait.
What a series, eh? Goodness me, we've had Galopin de Champs at 25-1. We've had your love for Gary Moore. Goodness me, and you got Sir Gerhard early doors for the Ballymore as well. Hey, what a
Well,
way
it
to win.
had to begin somewhere. It had to begin somewhere. I mean, I could have whacked an absolute rogue one in there and gone Editor de G or win the champion chase at 50s or 66, whatever it is. But no, I'm going to stick with Porticello. That's going to be it for our special episode, our Ante-Post series. Like I say, we're going to be back this weekend for our weekend preview. That'll come to you on Friday morning. We'll be previewing Newbury's Card, where the highlight there is the Betfair Hurdle. Like I say, don't forget to check out the Cheltenham Festival Preview Night. Get in touch if you are keen to come along and are local to the Pagan Bognor Regis area. We'd be very happy to have you on the night and looking forward to seeing some faces. And yeah, we will be back with you guys on Friday. Thanks for all the support. Comment down below with your best Ante-Post selection, and we will see you very soon.